Okay, in the last lesson, we talked about solving inequalities with one step. We solve inequalities just like we solve equations. So when I look at this first inequality, our goal is to get x by itself. So I found my x. I need to get that x by itself. So since this is adding 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. When I do that, I get 18 is less than or equal to, and I drop my x. Now, there's a problem with inequalities. We always want to read the variable first, so this one is technically backwards. So when we rewrite, we're going to rewrite our variable and our 18 on the other side. We need to go back to this and see what it's eating. Since it's eating the x, I'm going to make it eat the x in my answer. So really, when we read x first, because that's what we're wanting to find, we're saying x is greater than or equal to 18, which sounds a lot nicer for us and easier to answer that question. Okay, now, on this one, here's my x. -2 and x are multiplying, so I have to divide. When we talked in the last lesson, we discussed that there's a catch when you multiply or divide by a negative. My x is going to drop down. This sign, though, has to flip to make the inequality statement true. And I get a -25. So in this answer, since x is already first, we're good there. X is greater than -25. So we're going to continue with solving these multi-step inequalities. So it says to solve multi-step inequalities, you undo operations the same way you would to solve multi-step equations. Remember, you must reverse the inequality sign when you multiply or divide by a negative. It is very important to check your work since it is easy to forget your inequality sign. So remember, in this, since we don't have one exact answer, you pick an answer that would be true for what you got. And if it is, then you know your answer is correct. So here we go. Just like with equations, I like to draw my line down my inequality symbol just so I know where I have to move things from left to right, right to left, whatever it is. So right now I'm going to find my variable, and the first thing I have to do is get rid of its friend -13. I'm going to add 13 to both sides because that's the opposite of a negative. I'm going to drop my 11y down. My sign is still going to stay the same, and we get 55 on that right hand side. 11 and y are multiplying, so I'm going to divide by 11. Since 11 is positive, that's okay. So we're going to keep our sign the same, and we get a 5. So when I read this, this is saying y is greater than 5. So if I pick a number greater than 5, let's just say, make it easy, let's say 6. We know we want y to equal 6. So I'm going to plug it in. 11 times 6 minus 13 is greater than 42. I'm going to type this entire side right here into my calculator. It can be typed in all at once. So 11 times 6 and then minus 13 is 53. So when we look at this, we have to evaluate this last statement. Is 53 greater than 42? Yes. So we know that our answer right here is correct. Okay, so here's my next one. My y is now on the right-hand side. I have to move this positive 11. We move a positive 11 by subtracting 11 from both sides. 43 minus 11 is a 32. My sign stays the same, -4y. I have to get rid of that -4 by dividing. Since I'm dividing by a negative, my sign is going to flip. So I now have -8 is less than y. Remember, when we pick an answer, we do not want to see our variable last, so I need to flip this around. I'm going to flip my y and my -8. My sign is eating the y, so it needs to continue to eat the y. So now, to check this one, again, it's important to check. Ultimately, it's up to you. So this is saying y is greater than a -8, so let's use another easy one. Let's say y is 0. So I have 43 is greater than a -4 times 0 plus 11. 4 times 0 is going to cancel. So I have 43 is greater than 11, and that works. So I know my answer right here that I'm starring is correct. So as we go down this, I'm getting a little bit more complicated. These were both two-step. If you look at number 3 now has a simplifying over here, and you can see that it has variables on both sides. So let's start with our simplifying. Since there's a number on the outside of my parenthesis, I have to distribute. 4 times 3 is 12x. 4 times a -5 is a -20. I'm going to rewrite my sign. And then my 8x plus 3 can just drop down because there's no simplifying. I like to pick the smaller variable so I don't have to work with negatives. So my smaller variable is going to be that 8x. So I'm going to subtract 8x on both sides. You get 4x. That x is positive, which is going to help you guys out. Minus 20 is greater than or equal to 3. I'm going to add my 20. 4x is greater than or equal to 23. I'm going to divide by 4. I intentionally moved the smaller number to make sure that one was positive, so I did not have to flip my sign. 23 divided by 4 is 5.75. It's not necessarily pretty, but it's an answer. This is actually a pretty decimal. We can get some uglier ones. Okay, so let's look at this written in words. So it says 5 minus 6 times a number is more than 4 times the number plus 45. So I have 5 minus 6 times a number is more than 4 times the number plus 45. So this time, my smallest variable is going to be the -6, so I'm going to add my 6x. I have 5 is greater than 10x plus 45. I'm going to subtract my 45. I get -30 is greater than 10x. Now when we do this, I'm dividing by a positive 10. So this sign is not going to flip. I don't care what that number is on the other side. It's the number with the variable. So -3 is greater than x. Remember, I don't like my variable on the left. So if I rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite x and my -3. I'm going to go back to this and see what it's eating. It's eating that -3. So I need to make sure to make it eat that -3. So here is my final answer. Okay, and these bottom two, we're getting even more complicated. Okay, there's simplifying on both sides. So I'm going to simplify what I can first on the left and on the right all in one step. My 9a is going to drop down. I'm going to distribute my -5 and I get a -5a plus 25 greater than or equal to. I'm also going to distribute the 4 on the other side and I get a 4a and I get a -12. The problem right now is I still have simplifying on the left-hand side, so I need to do that first. So I get 4a plus 25 is greater than or equal to 4a minus 12. When I solve, I'm going to subtract my 4a's. Some of you are already seeing what's going to happen. But this is a little bit different than in equations. we have to look at this statement. Is 25 greater than or equal to negative 12? This is a true statement. Since it is a true statement, it is called infinite solutions. That means it does not matter what number you pick, it will work. If it's infinite solutions, on your number line, every single number will be shaded. Every single one of those. So you can pick whichever number you want, and it's going to be true. I can pick 0, I can pick negative 10, I can pick 100. It's going to work in that inequality. Okay, so again, I have simplifying on both sides, so I'm going to go left to right. 3 times 4 is 12m. 3 times 6 is 18, is less than 42, plus 12m minus 24. I'm done simplifying over here, so I'm just going to rewrite 12m plus 18 is less than. I need to combine 42 minus 24, which gives me 18. Plus 12m. Again, I know some of you are looking at this and saying, oh, I know the answer. I'm going to subtract my 12m. They cancel. You have to read this statement. Is 18 less than 18? No, it is not. Since it is not, which means that's false, that means it's going to be a no solution. If it's a no solution, you're not going to shade anything because the shading means those are your answers. So right now, this is my final answer, my no solution. Okay, let's flip it over and look at some of these word problems. Again, just like we solve equations and inequality similar, we're going to write them. The only difference is we don't have the equal sign. We have an inequality symbol. So here we go. Write and solve an inequality to find the sales Mrs. Jones needs to earn a monthly salary of $2,000 plus 10% commission on her sales. Her goal is to make at least $4,000 per month. I always like to start with my total. The total that she wants to get is your 4,000. It says at least 4,000, which means that's the smallest she wants. And if you go back to elementary school, we never ate the smaller number. We want to be away from it. Since it is the least amount, she is okay with making that. She's going to make a monthly salary of $2,000 plus her commission on sale. So 10% does have to be changed into a decimal. 10% is really 0.10. And then we have our x. From here, we could solve. This is just a basic two-step like the very first two that we did on the front side. I'm going to continue so we can keep looking at writing. Okay, here's my next one. The print shop advertises a special to print 400 flyers for less than the competition. This price includes a $3.50 setup fee. If the competition charges $35.50, what does the print shop charge for each flyer? So again, our goal is the $35.50. And at the beginning, it tells us that this competition, this print shop wants to be less than that. So that is, it's not necessarily the most because they don't even want to be 35.5. They want to be lower than that, which is why it's not going to get an equal to. Now on the other side, they want to know the price per flyer. Well, we're going to get 400 flyers. We don't know their price, which is why X with it. But I also have to pay the $3.50 setup fee. So here's my equation. This is the print shop. They want to be less than their competitor. On my next one, it says 4 people plan to use the canoe with 60 pounds of supplies. Write and solve an inequality to find the allowable average weight of a person. So a lot of people sit here and say, well, I don't have a total. Guys, look at the entire box. That entire box gives you a picture. If you look underneath the picture, it says 800-pound capacity. A capacity is your total. So I have 800 pounds that can go in that boat, which also means it cannot be over the 800 pounds. So I have to eat the 800, but it can be exactly 800. Now, the other side, we have to see what's happening. Well, again, you have to be careful. They don't give you the actual number in a numerical form. They have it written out, and you have to be aware of that. So 4 people is going to be 4x because we have no idea how much those people weigh. And then they're also bringing just 60 pounds of supplies total. So you have your 4 people and your 60 pounds. It has to be less than or it can equal 800. Okay, last one on the notes right here. It says, on Saturday night, you went to Sugar Chic. It cost $3.25 for 1 scoop of ice cream plus 65 cents per topping. On Sunday night, you went to Andy's. It cost $4.45 for a scoop and 25 cents per topping. How many toppings did you get if you spent more at Sugar Chic? So we're comparing Sugar Chic to Andy's. They want Sugar Chic. You want to spend more at Sugar Chic. So Sugar Chic has to be greater than Andy's. So let's start with Sugar Chic. At Sugar Chic, it's going to cost $3.25 for 1 scoop. And then I'm going to pay 65 cents per topping, so X. We already have our symbol because we know we want Sugar Chic to be more. Andy's is $4.45 plus your 0.25 X. Remember, on these, I would always pick your smaller variable. My smaller variable is over here at Andy's, so I would subtract my 0.25x. Remember, the reason we do this is so we don't have to work with that negative variable, and we don't have to remember the rule. 3.25 plus 0.40x is greater than 4.45. I'm going to subtract my $3.25. 0.40x is greater than, oh, I don't know why I put a thing there, $1.20. I'm going to divide by my 40 cents. $1.20 divided by 40 is 3 toppings. So if you got more than 3 toppings, then your Sugar Shake's going to be more expensive.